Hi, friends. I just wanted to touch base with you tonight. It's something I'm trying to continue, and that is to um, become friends with you, engage with you. The hardest part about all this is finding new things to talk about. So tonight, let's talk about all the things I wanted to do and tried to do, and compare it to, did you want to do these things too? Well, everybody wants to be a fireman when they're young. I had a fire truck. You probably had something similar to that you thought it'd be real neat to be a fireman. I had a chemistry set given to me for Christmas, and I made things up in the basement. I got up shortly after midnight and looked under the tree, and there was that chemistry set. It was a first class chemistry set. So I took it downstairs. We had a basement, and I actually made two or three formulas and had them smelling, had them smoking, and it caught me for a while to where I was buying Bunsen burners. I was buying more chemicals. I thought, I wonder if I can make something that will blow up and make a noise like a bomb. I mean, these type of things a kid thinks about. Well, I never made a bomb. Um, After that ordeal, I I had some lesser gifts. We're talking about gifts now at Christmas because I'm thinking about it. I mentioned this in another video that um, when I saw that there was a bicycle in the garage, and I mentioned it to my parents. I see that uh, the bicycle I wanted for Christmas. You know what they said? There's no more Santa Claus for you. There's no more Santa Claus for you. Well, my brother, he had two guns. He he had a rifle. Well, he had three. He had a 22 rifle, 22. What do they call it? Whatever those bullets are called. 22 something. And then he had he was given a BB gun, one of those that you pull back like that, and it's got a lot of air pressure out. And then I believe he was given a gun too. All this. No, he wasn't given a gun because he didn't have a gun license. So he only had the BB gun and the BB pistol. I'm having a real hard time remembering it because he almost blew his hand off. he was making up bullets and putting caps from a cap gun. He was putting the gunpowder from the caps in the shells, and somehow he decides to get a hammer and hit that sucker, and it exploded and damaged greatly his hand. So he had a rifle. Yeah, he did have a rifle. I guess you didn't have to have a .22 caliber rifle. He did not need a gun license for, I guess, back in those days. And he had a BB gun. Seems like there was a third gun. Well, because he treated the guns with no respect and almost blew his hand off, I never got a BB gun. There's a lot of things that he did that he is 6 years older that I didn't get to do because he almost crashed the car. Well, crashed part of the car, okay? So I rarely got to drive after I was 16. Somebody wanted to give me a car called a junker, and he was afraid I'd kill myself. It was a relative. You'll kill yourself. He can't have that. He can't have that junker. Well, that you know how a 16-year-old boy feels when he's told something like that. You get to keep riding your green bicycle. Okay. I put this on my Facebook post. It was from several years ago. It was memories that I put on there maybe 6, 7, 8 years ago, and I liked it so well. You ought to take a look at it. It's the last post on there, I think. Put it on the day. It was dealing with what I learned in school. No, it was about the teachers. I remember the bad teachers. I don't remember any good ones because they'd call my mother and say, your son's not studying, and she knew I was. It was history in high school. I was pretty close to an F. I can't remember dates or numbers. I had a physics teacher. I was talking to my neighbor sitting at a table next to me, and he actually does this. He comes behind my head, walks behind me. He's got a big, thick physics book. I think it was physics, about that thick. And he hauled off like this and hit me in the head. Well, I still did pretty good in class. He just didn't want me talking, and a chemistry teacher didn't like it because I was chewing gum and had me put it in my hair, the gum. And I'm trying to think of the good teachers. I had my band teacher. I was in the advanced band, worked myself up from the beginning, to the middle to the advance, and we got a new band teacher. He and I didn't get along, so he demoted me. He demoted me to the middle, not the beginning, but the middle. Well, I saw he had posted a sheet of paper up on the bulletin board saying there was an all-county band or all-state band. I'm not sure which one. He didn't want me to know about it, but I did. I read it. So, as bad as he thought I was playing baritone, I played trumpet, baritone, both. I went where I had to go to try out for that all-state band. And you gotta understand, everybody had a chance to, whether you played flute, trumpet, saxophone, tuba, everybody had equal opportunity to just show up at Jefferson. It was Jefferson High School in Louisville. So I showed up, scared to death, because I really, tell you the truth, I really didn't care for that type of music. Brass, orchestra music. And I certainly wasn't good at sight reading. That means someone putting something you've never seen before, and you have to play that tune. I had to do all that. Then I had to play the scale up and down. Then I had to have a favorite piece that I played. Well, I thought this was a worthless day that I put my dad through, because he had to drive me there. Well, about a week later, my band teacher in high school spoke to me. She said, "Did you look on the bulletin board to see who did make the grade?" Like I said, I don't know if it's all state or all county, but whatever it was, I had made it, and no one else in the band made it. He put me back into the advanced band that day. Wonder why? Was I bad enough to not be in it, or was I really good enough to be in it, or was he embarrassed? Solomon. His name was Mr. Solomon. Well, those type of teachers I had. Had a teacher, I was taking French, and she ate with me at the table the day before the final. I said, I'm going to stay up all night and study for the French test. She says, "You don't need to. You'll do okay." Yeah, I sure did. I made an F for the year. F on the test, F for the year. Well, I had Latin teacher. Yeah, I made a D in her class, and that's a whole year class. I made a D. I was always so afraid. It was first class I had. So afraid that if I knew the answer, I'd raise my hand. If I didn't know the answer, I didn't raise my hand. Well, she always called on me when I didn't know the answer. I made a D for the year. And then, when beginning of the next year, she said, I didn't see you in Latin 2 class. I said, well, there's only one way to go if I took Latin 2, and that would be from a D to a F. So I decided to skip it this year. That was my senior year, last year. I'm trying to think if any good things happened. Oh, I had a good teacher for 2 years named Miss Simpson. She may be watching this, I don't know. You were a wonderful English teacher. You're the only English teacher, I think, or any teacher at Pleasure Ridge Park High School in Louisville that I would say that about. And then we go to college. We make a F. We make 2 or 3 D's in history. See, I don't do good with numbers, dates, or history. I'm not one of those type of people that live in the past. And I like to know certain people that lived in the past. Like I like to read a book about the Alamo, Waville Hickok, just for example. But I didn't want to read a history book and then regurgitate it on the test and make a F, which is what I did. Made F's in all the history exams, and I had to have about 3. Well, I had loving teachers. Instead of failing me, they gave me D's on my year-end report card. And English I did well in. Maybe even made A's in English. Well, let's skip to graduate school. That was the first graduate school was the Southern Baptist Theological Seminary, where I was preparing to be an evangelist, I thought, till I realized my anxiety was so bad. I could talk with a group of people, I could work with a small church, but that's not going to work out for a living. But I finished it. And I'll never forget one teacher gave me a D-. Still graduated. Why did he give me a D-? It was called The Miracles of Jesus. And to this day, I really think that his whole focus was to disprove the miracles of Jesus, to prove that they weren't true. So I stopped going to his class. I found when he gave the test, and I thought, well, I can make up stuff like that. That's not what I sign up for this course for. The miracles of Jesus. I wanted to hear about the miracles, not why they weren't miracles. So there we go. D minus. D minus. I was going to get a doctorate from there. It was going to be a doctorate of ministry. And I did get the master's, and they had a conference about me, all the professors that I attended classes of, and I was called in for a special meeting. There's not enough professors here that think you were serious about some of their classes, so we're not going to let you enroll. Oh, you talking about the miracles of Jesus that I got a D minus in? Well, that's just one that says you didn't show up to his class very often. I guess I did it. Okay, so from there, I worked at several churches. Yeah, never mentioned that before. Worked at several churches, Protestant churches, and different Protestant churches, Assemblies of God, Southern Baptist. What else? Disciples of Christ, which is the Christian church before they started a independent Christian church. And like I said, a little bit too nervous, a little bit too anxious. And I thought, what was it I really wanted to do? I did teach a few years in between, before I went back for the second master's degree, which would be in clinical psychology, which I did well enough to graduate, but I had to take the State Board of Psychology exam 3 times. I had to take 3 tests. You had to take a national exam, which I passed. That was the biggie, the one that every psychologist in America had to pass. Passed it the first time. Then I had to do an essay test, answer a few questions, and I did. And didn't pass by, I'm not sure if it was 1 point, but I think it was 1 point. And then I had to wait a year to take it again. But this time I was going to have to take an oral exam. More pressure. The whole board, say 10 people on the psychology board. Well, if you've got anxiety and if you feel confident that you're not going to pass because they're going to ask questions that you have no experience in, even though I was working in different phases of the mental health field. If you think they couldn't find a way to fail me, and I'll tell you the question they failed me on. They said it used to be called a sociopath, but sociopath has been renamed antisocial personality disorder. Now you think about that as someone who avoids people, but that's not what the uh, DSM diagnostic book refers to it as. Um, there are people who intentionally hurt people any way they can, not physically, but they verbally abusive. They try to get you fired if you're working. They try to become the director because they're such bullies. They put people down that need help, that come to them. They put people down, make them feel like a roach. Okay, so that was the question. What's a antisocial personality disorder? And that's about summary of what I said. Okay, it looks like you'll be coming back again, Jim, because you failed with that one question. Well, the other 9 people looked at him. He was the chairperson, and so what did he not say? He didn't say that most people, or all people that are antisocial, were first, as a teenager, a conduct disordered person. Conduct disordered were people that didn't necessarily treat their friends and classmates well. They actually could get to where they harmed animals. You get the idea. Well, I didn't say that. He says now you got to wait another year to take the exam. You only get 3 chances. This is your second. Well, we're going to skip a whole lot and just tell you I passed it the 3rd time. I passed it the 3rd time. There may be more on this on other videos, but then it took 2 years to get a job. I had become so old by then, and they wanted to hire younger people right out of, not only right out of graduate school, but who had passed the exam the first time, the exams the first time. I fortunately was one of the last people that qualified to be a psychologist with a master's degree, but I did. I was one of the few, because after they granted me a psychology diploma, everybody from then on became psychology assistants or associates, one or the other. Psychology assistants or associates. Okay. So this is where I jumped over to Indiana. They wanted to film me. They wanted to film me doing counseling. Now, how would you like to be in my room? And there's a camera, and it's recording. What kind of pressure is that putting me under, and what kind of pressure does that put the client under? So when I knew that was going to happen, I would tell the client, I said, they're going to be filming us. Just go along. Just go along and realize that's what they're doing. Don't get tensed up. I'll try not to get tensed up. and we'll get through this. The sessions were about an hour. After, I think I only did one, and then Indiana. I checked the licenses in Indiana, and I qualified for school psychologist, clinical psychologist, marriage and family therapist, and alcohol and drug therapist. So um, I exchanged one that was a certification in Kentucky, not a license. You had to have a PhD to call yourself licensed. When I jumped over to Indiana, everything became a license that I qualified for. Now, the reason I'm sharing this isn't to brag. I'm just telling you the ladder I climbed, the years. It took me an extra 2 years to pass all the classes at Spalding University to get the clinical psychology degree. Because if I couldn't understand the test of a professor, I'd withdraw. I'd have to take it again under a different professor. Well, this kept happening so much, we added 2 more years on. It was a 48-hour, that might not mean anything, 48-hour, with each class being 3 hours. And then I failed the final exam, which was called the comprehensive exam, I think. Missed one question. Didn't give enough information on it. It was handwritten. 4 questions. Passed 3, failed 1. Couldn't take it over for a year. Okay. Took it over and passed it. And then at that point I could apply. That's when I started applying for the State Board of Psychology exam, which took another 3 years, because I had to keep taking it because I was not giving enough information. So when I start applying for jobs, they look at me, man, you're a loser. Look how old you are. Yeah, but I taught school for 3 years before I went back to get the master's in psychology. Yeah, but look how many years it's been since you graduated. This went on for 2 years. Couldn't get a job for 2 years. Couldn't get a job for 2 years. Not in my field. A substitute taught in high school for 2 years. Until finally, Charter Hospital in Louisville hired me. Didn't even apply there because I was told not to by the director, who I knew. He says, you have not worked in the field for 3 years, so we're not going to hire you. He said, nor have you been drinking and stopped drinking and been in recovery for 3 years, so we're not going to hire you. Okay, so I didn't give him the resume. I had it in my hand, didn't give it to him. A year later, he calls me. Do you have a job yet? No, I've applied at about 20 places, but not. They tell me to call back. and finish the interview and the paperwork, and they won't come to the phone. So I said, I'm serious about staying in the field. He said, no, remember, I never applied there at Charter Hospital on Browns Lane in Louisville, Kentucky. He says, I'll hire you. He says, you come in tomorrow. Human Resources. I've already told them that you would probably be coming in, so I'll tell them for sure you'll be coming in and filling out the paperwork to work here. And from there, I was asked to work part-time at a new facility. So I was working at 2 facilities. And then University of Louisville Psychiatric Services. That was the 3rd place. I was working at 3 places. They said, we have people on weekends that call in sick. Now, you got to understand, University of Louisville Hospital had both a psychiatric side and the psychiatric floor, the 3rd floor, I think, and had a side where they took care of people that got gunshot, stabbed, and they had the only crisis center. So if anybody was in a crisis, they put them on a helicopter from wherever and sent them there. That's how big it was. So I'd work there on weekends when I wasn't working at United Behavioral Systems, which was a managed care company owned by United Healthcare. And then I was working those 2 part-time while I was working full-time at Charter Hospital till I went full-time at the HMO, United Behavioral Systems. Well, I sort of told you, I know I sound like I'm self-centered, and I'm not. I should be embarrassed. But I've been told when I share my failures, it helps people that fail to try again. So I'm trying to think if anybody thought I'd get anywhere as far as a decent job. When I moved to Madison, Indiana, I created 2 counseling centers. One here in Madison and one in Carrollton, Kentucky. And I go back and forth seeing people in both counseling centers. The name of the one in Carrollton, if you really want to check it out, was called Partners in Growth. Partners in Growth. Sort of a nice name, no stigma on it. And then the one I spent most of my time was here in Madison, and started calling it New Beginnings. And then I switched it to, because people were starting to get to know me and want to know where I was, I changed it to James Wortham Counseling Services, where I worked from then on and did not work with anyone else. Although I was director here at LifeSpring Mental Health Services for 3 years before going completely independent for 25 years, 30 years, I don't know. Like I said before, I'm not good with numbers or history. So good things happen. It took a long time to start from zero, working privately, finding somebody that will rent to you. Getting all the applications I could from insurance companies and employee assistance programs called EAP. It took me a year to fill out all the applications, but as the year went, I was gaining entrance on their networks. And it got to the point where I was working long days, 5 or 6 days a week. I tell you what, a lot of people will say, can I come on Saturday? Sure. I usually don't work on Saturday, but yeah, for you I will. They never came on Saturdays. They wanted to go out and have fun, so I was there all day Saturday by myself in my office. And I thought, why am I doing this? I did it about 3 times. No more Saturdays. No more Saturdays. So when I retired, which I retired three times starting at 65, every time I retired, the phone kept ringing because I had given out so many business cards that I had printed at Vistaprint. You could get them real cheap, printed at Vistaprint, a mail order company, still around. I kept going to a smaller office, cut out Carrollton, Kentucky completely after 3 years, and continued counseling year after year. I didn't expect to do it more than 1 or 2 days a week after I retired, but it became another 5-day-a-week deal, and that continued until about the COVID time. When the COVID time came, I thought it might be time to close down since I got COVID 3 times. And currently think I have what's called long COVID, which most people, when I tell them that, will look down at the ground because they don't believe it. They'll look down at the dirt. I'm not going to go over the symptoms of long COVID because I've got 3 or 4 videos on updates of myself on long COVID. And probably I have not taken a trip or vacation since 2020. Lack of energy, lack of motivation, lack of sleep, difficulty breathing. And the thing about long COVID, just so you know, some people get over it and some people die with it. And when I say die with it, I mean they may live another 20 years, but they'll have the symptoms. You've heard more than you probably wanted to hear. I hope I haven't made this unbearable for you to listen to. I do listen to any comments. I don't ask for people to like me but if you want to, you can. I don't ask people to subscribe. Although there's over 500 that have. Uh, why? I don't want to beg. I don't want to beg, and I watch these YouTube uh, videos, and they're begging, and they're throwing up signs. Please subscribe. Please subscribe. Subscribe now. Subscribe now. And like it too. So you're not going to hear that from me. But if you do want to hear forthcoming videos, and that's why I did tonight. I didn't feel like doing this because I knew I was going to not nothing scripted. I knew I didn't know what I was going to cover, and I had no idea I was going to cover what I covered. So I don't ask anyone to subscribe, but if you like this style, if you like my style, this is how I do things. I'll pick a subject. It may only be 15 minutes. I think I did one this week, 15, 20 minutes. Maybe yesterday, 30 minutes. I just noticed right now it's getting close to 47 minutes. I doubt if anyone's still with me. So, have a blessed weekend. It's going to be, it is already Friday at 12:10. So, happy Friday. Take care.